Thank you once again for your company here. Now, the Nandom St. Teresa Hospital in the Upper West region is in dire need of medical facilities and infrastructure to cater for the increasing number of patients visiting the facility. The hospital currently has one operating theatre. This has resulted in a first-come, first-served situation. In conducting surgeries, doctors have to queue to use the theatre. Medical Superintendent of the St. Teresa Hospital, Dr. Robert Amesia, at the climax of the hospital's Golden Jubilee celebration, appealed to the government and other benevolent organizations to come to their aid. A Rafiq Salam report from Nandom in the Upper West region.
The St. Teresa Hospital of Nandom first started as a maternity home and a dispensary in 1953 by the missionaries of Our Lady of Africa. Though their mission was to preach the word of God, the missionaries later realized that a particular disease called yaws was on the increase, prompting them to also take interest in the health of the people. The increasing number of patients to the center compelled the government in 1966 to approach the Bishop of the White Diocese to provide more and better infrastructure. Speaking at the climax of the Golden Jubilee celebrations of the hospital, Medical Superintendent of the St. Teresa Hospital, Dr. Robert Amesia, catalogued several achievements in its 50-year history. He noted that management with support and cooperation from the staff has over the years strived to outlive the challenges confronting them. However, the biggest challenge faced by the hospital now is the increasing number of orthopedic cases to the facility, which he wants the government to help complete an orthopedic center to ease congestion.
And with the orthopedic services too, it is not complete without rehabilitation. And with the rehabilitation, we need a physiotherapy unit, which has to do with space and then equipment. Even though we have physiotherapists, 4 of them posted by the Ghana Health Service to help in service delivery, the space and equipment is not available. So we need help in that area. The other area we need support is an additional operating theatre. Currently we have one operating theatre which has to see to emergencies for maternal health care, general surgeries, and then orthopedic surgeries. Because it is one, sometimes some people have to wait. Even though we have enough doctors that could have been doing surgeries, 4 surgeries concurrently. Sometimes you have to wait for one doctor to finish a case, then you do another case.
Dr. Robert then laid bare his future plans for the hospital.
We want this hospital to position itself in a manner that all the essential basic specialized services will be provided. So currently we have identified 3 medical officers who want to train in the areas of specialized services that most of the patients in Upper West region are referred to far places where they go with their relations and then with anxiety. So we are looking at areas of urology, then neurosurgery. There's already orthopedic surgery, but we're encouraging one of them to go and train and come and add up. And then we also need general internal medicine.
Deputy Upper West Regional Minister Hamidu Chinia Isaku assured management of the hospital of the government's commitment in helping the hospital realize its dream.
In order to strengthen the infrastructural needs of the hospital, the National District Assembly and the outgoing Member of Parliament started the construction of orthopedic ward and theatre at the hospital at the cost of 292,270.64 Ghana cedis. And my information is that it has reached lintel level. All efforts will be made to complete the project in good time.
Reporting for J News, Rafiq Salam, Nandom.
Housing is one of the many challenges confronting a lot of developing countries, including Ghana. Available statistics pegs Ghana's housing deficit at 1.7 million, but Minister for Works and Housing, Samuel Atacha, is hoping to use a rural housing scheme to bridge the gap. Joy News' Maxwell Agbagba was with him during a tour of some affordable housing project sites and has come through with his report.
Dekbun, Saglemi, and Tema Naval Officers Affordable Housing Projects among some of the places visited by Works and Housing Minister Samuel Atachian. Speaking to the media after inspecting ongoing works at Dekbun Affordable Housing Project, Mr. Atachian stated government will pursue a rural housing scheme to bridge the current housing deficit. He believes the development of the infrastructure in the hinterlands can serve as an attraction for prospective home buyers who would not mind living in these areas.
What's going to happen, which is very good for all of us, is that the rural housing scheme is going to take center stage. What we are seeking to do, that people who are living on the Accra-Kumasi road, if you are coming close to, probably let's start off with Bunsu, or maybe what's it called, Kwabing, you know, you can virtually have high-rise buildings in these areas. And if our trunk road is very good, it will take about an hour for somebody to drive from where he's living in the hinterland and come to Accra and work. It's the same problem we're having that somebody's in Medina and is in traffic for about 45 minutes before he gets to the ministry. So if we make the rural place attractive, you'll find people who, if we have good road networks and the transportation is very good, who live in the hinterland but come to work in the city.
The minister also believes the establishment of a bank dedicated to housing and construction is one of the surest ways to end Ghana's housing woes. He promised to push the idea forcefully.
Do we need a bank for housing and construction to roll out huge sums of money to even local contractors and foreigners, and then they will find an agreement that it is paid long term? You can never own a house if you spend more than 30% of your income on mortgage servicing. There is a need for it to bring it back, and that is one of the things I'll push in the cabinet, that let's set up the bank.
Mr. Atachian was impressed with the construction of the first phase of the Saglemi Affordable Housing Project in the Ningo Prampram district. The first phase is expected to provide about 1,500 affordable homes to Ghanaians.
You'll be one of the serious companies in the realm who come and wipe out a considerable chunk of the deficit. You see, because the speed, the beauty of what you've produced, your sense of infrastructure and the rest of them are just very right. Some people want to see the use of local material, brick and tile, and the rest of them. These are matters that you can also think through. So in the interior where somebody has a lot of clay, and you just put up a factory to do brick and tile, and the brick and tile that you produce will give jobs to people, and at the same token, it will give you the building blocks for the houses you want to erect.
Executive Chairman of OAS, contractors of the project, Andrew Klokanas, has been speaking about the project which started in 2015.
I think we're all happy that we were able to deliver within a very short period of time, and we'll be going into the second phase in the next 6 months to continue building what we hope will be another 1,500 units, and this should continue on for the next 4 years in this area. Of course, they would like us to go into other areas where we could assist in developing something similar to what we have seen here. And we will be sitting down shortly to see how we can achieve that.
Reporting for Joy News, Maxwell Agbagba.
So that's my colleague Maxwell Agbagba with that story. So rural housing scheme, that is, well, surely not maybe a familiar term with us here, because we've heard affordable housing. But this time round, the minister has something up his sleeve. We'll get you more on this issue because Deputy Minister for Works and Housing, Fida Prempeh, joins me here in the studio. Thank you, madam, for your time.
Good morning.
First, let's talk about this project. What exactly does it mean?
Well, let me say a very good morning to your viewing listeners. Ghana has a problem with housing. As I speak with you now, we have a deficit of about 1.7 million. So the government is trying as much as possible to bridge the gap somehow. During the MPP era under President Kufuor, he started the affordable housing scheme. We started some at Botemai, Pong, Asokwere Mampo in Kumasi, Tamale, Kuforidia, and about 3 others in Accra. The last administration also tried to set up an affordable housing scheme project at Saglima. We were there yesterday. What I realized is as much as they're also trying to put up affordable houses, I've been asking myself, is it really an affordable housing scheme that we are pursuing? We are talking about 1.7 million deficit. Drive around, there are a lot of houses, there are a lot of bungalows, there are a lot of private houses that people have built, they can't even find buyers. So our problem is with the availability of affordable houses. Exactly. That's what we should be looking at. Yesterday, I was so much impressed about the work that had been done by Madi at Saglima. They've secured about 1,200 acres of land, and they've been able to utilize about 300 acres now, having about 1,500 units almost ready for commissioning. We also visited the Navy quarters as well. They have about 308 units. And they went with TDC to have a look at the Pong affordable housing project. But unfortunately, the ones that Pong had sort of stalled because of funding. They're trying to look for funding to finish up with the infrastructure. But it all boils back to the fact that even the ones that states have taken over from the ministry and have been able to complete, the amount of money that they're calling now. During the Kufuor administration, the one-bedroom apartment was selling for 12,000 Ghana cedis, which at the time the dollar was 1 to 1. So it was like $12,000, which is quite manageable. The two-bedroom was selling for 25,000. As I speak with you, currently, the one-bedroom house is selling for 175,000 Ghana cedis, and the two-bedroom is selling for 220,000 Ghana cedis. 22. That's a lot of money.
Is it 22,000 Ghana cedis?
220,000 Ghana cedis, 2.2 billion old cedis.
Oh, okay.
Right. So how many people can afford to buy?
So what you're saying is that it seems that we are claiming to build affordable homes, yet they end up being expensive.
They end up being expensive. That's why my minister was talking about the rural setup, trying to move from Accra to the outskirts. Likewise, the same for other regions, so that we can be able to secure land at an affordable rate, able to find raw materials within the same vicinity. When you come to my constituency, for instance, around town or so, we have a lot of clay. So I'm trying to look for investors. I've already found one anyway, to put up a brick and tile factory where we can, produce floor tiles, roofing tiles, bricks, so that we can find ways and means of bringing down the cost of building. As I speak with you now, it's so expensive. Even access to credit facility for investors or estate development is so huge. So my minister also mentioned the fact that he is trying to see how best we can bring back the Bank for Housing, so that Bank for Housing will be purposely there to serve the interest of real estate developers.
And the minister in his speech mentioned the obvious, that with building in the rural areas or hoping to put up structures in the rural areas, you need good roads to create the easy access, because I'm sure nobody will want to live in the hinterlands and struggle to come and work in Accra. So how is your ministry hoping to work with other stakeholders and other ministries that are involved in making this rural housing scheme in Sussex?
Even building in Accra, you still need good roads, you need good infrastructure, you need to have good water, you need to have good electricity. And now I'm particularly happy about this project that they're also using solar, so that we try to cut down the cost of electricity as well. My minister was not talking about just putting up houses in rural communities. For instance, if you're driving from Accra and you have an affordable housing project as, let's say, Bunsu, or even after Suhum, it will be easier for you to even drive from Suhum to Accra than you be in traffic from where I live around Agboba. If I have to come to Accra, get to the office by 9 o'clock, I have to leave home at 6 o'clock.
But if you live in Suhum, you would get to that traffic.
That's why he's saying that if there are good roads, if they have flyovers, if you have other connecting routes that you can get to Accra, it will be easier for all of us to get to drive from. Go to the developing countries. A lot of people drive from the outskirts of London. They use train, buses from outskirts of America. Some people live in Virginia, they work in Washington. So if you put systems and structures in place, it will be easier for your citizens to be comfortable living. I prefer to live in an outskirt now because Accra is choked. Everybody is moving to Oyarifa, Oyibi, Abri, Kuntinasi, and all that, Bokuasi and all that. There are a lot of people living there. So why don't you make good use of land? Because land banks in Accra is a problem.
Yeah. So my question is, how are you hoping to work? For example, you talk about roads, you talk about trains. So what's the plan so that we can put you to a certain timeline to say we're expecting this to be done by this time and that time?
Obviously, my minister has a big vision, and he has able supporting team to work with. He would have wished that we've had all these projects within 24 hours. But then we have to consult with the stakeholders involved. We have to collaborate with the Ministry of Roads, collaborate with the Ministry of Railways, collaborate with the Ministry of Finance, find investors here and there. So I believe that with time, we are doing a lot of work behind the scenes. So with time will come out for all of us to know exactly what is going on.
And can you assure us that this will not stall like the other projects we've seen with the affordable
Not at all. You know,
projects?
if you remember, when he went for the vetting, he made mention that he was going to ensure that the already started projects are completed, because he doesn't really see the need in having these projects halfway and starting new projects. So he's pursuing the other projects to ensure that
are you
it comes with final conclusion.
Sorry to cut in, but so are you saying that the affordable housing projects will be ended before the rural housing scheme starts?
No, what I'm saying that he promised Ghanaians that he was going to pursue to ensure that the affordable housing projects are completed. He's as well thinking of putting up new projects in the outskirts of Accra and some other parts of the other regions as well. So we are doing so many things behind the scenes. We're only 4 or 5 months in office. We joined him about a month ago. So just give us some time. I believe very soon we'll come out and the media will get to know exactly what we are doing behind the scenes.
All right. So as of now, you can give us any details as regards the rural housing scheme in terms of which areas will benefit and how long you're expecting to...
No, I can't give you the areas because we are still working on it.
So let's talk about the stalled projects. You mentioned a few and gave us some of the updates. But do we know when you're hoping to complete the affordable project? Some started as far back as during former President Kufuor's era.
You see, that's the problem that we have in this country. We tend to politicize everything. If these projects had not been politicized and pursued by now, maybe some people would have been living in it. But all the same, we've come back to the same drawing board again. Yesterday, we had a short meeting with the MD of Tema Development Company now. They are pursuing that project at Pong. It's not sort of stalled, but they're trying to put certain structures together before they finish up with the 24 units. That is almost done. That's about 90% complete now. But we asked them to fast track the process because the Ghanaians want a place, a very affordable and convenient, comfortable place to live. But for the Seglima one, that's a very beautiful city. I believe your reporter made mention of that. They have already put up 1,500 units. You see, if we want to bridge the gap, we should be looking at putting up about 100,000 units of houses in a year. So that calls for a lot of investments, that calls for a lot of putting systems and structures in place. You can't just do it overnight. That's why I'm saying that I cannot put timelines to it. I know Joy will start calling that. You said by the end of March or by the end of June, you'd have been done with this or that. But give us some time. Definitely, we're going to come out, roll out something very soon. Okay, but it is believed that we'll need about 200,000 units of houses to fix the current deficit, which is 1.7 million. And the houses that you've mentioned, obviously, as it stands now, if they're completed even by the end of this year, cannot deal with the situation. Leads me to my question on access. We've had a lot of people accuse and allege that some of these units are sold to party faithfuls and all that. How does an ordinary Ghanaian get access to this building? How am I assured that I will not meet a long queue of party loyalists before it gets to my turn as an ordinary Ghanaian citizen who may not be loyal to any party per se? That's why I said earlier on that people have tended to politicize everything. Looking at Seglima, for instance, if we start issuing out allocations to Ghanaians, we do not be looking at party colors. We're looking at people who can afford to buy or to rent. Because international standard states that if you are renting a house, you should not be paying more than 30% of your salary. So we will put all these things into consideration before we allocate the houses. So let me take this opportunity to assure Ghanaians that there's not going to be an MPP kind of thing or NDC kind of thing. These houses are for Ghanaians, and we have to make sure Ghanaians are comfortably wherever they find themselves. So what will be the mode? Should we expect some advertisement once these projects are complete? I should think so, because we are now going to meet with SNITs. My minister will trying to see how best we can review the the cost of houses that SNIT is selling now, because we left the houses for SNIT to complete. That is, the last government decided to go into a sort of MOU with SNIT to complete. But we left it at the cost of 25,000. Now they want to sell it at 220,000. So we want to revise it. We want to sit down with them and see what went into the pricing, so that Ghanaians can, feel comfortable and be able to buy on rent. So we're not going to look at who is Joy FM or who is Adom FM, but we're going to look at who can afford and who qualifies to be there.
And are you selling out these units outright, or they're going to be for rent?
Most of the units are going to be sold outright, and some will be for rent.
Okay, and how sure are we putting measures in place to make sure that the rich, quote unquote, do not buy these homes and rent them out in turn? Then you still have that system where it may become another issue of affordability, because if someone buys that unit and decides to rent it out to me, obviously they're looking for profit, and so they may increase the price a bit, and then the issue of affordability comes again. So what are those measures in place?
I have no doubt that some people might try to do that, but I think we'll try as much as possible to ensure that the units get to the right people who are supposed to be there.
How are we going to do that?
I would ensure that we put so many measures in place. When you just leave it to people to allocate their houses, their units to cronies or friends or family members. Definitely some sort of committee is going to be put in place. Some institutional agencies will be represented on the committee to ensure that we have fair and equity in the distribution of the affordable housing projects.
Well, thank you very much for your time. Frida Prempeh is deputy.
Let me just chip in that Ghanaians should take. When you have something, you should own it. It's your identity. The culture of maintenance. We should be very, very careful. As I drive around government bungalows, government housing, I become so emotional because people are not taking good care of government properties.
Sure.
We spend so much money in renovating and bringing the houses back for it to be habitable for other people to move in. As I speak with you, the deputy ministers, chief executives of other agencies cannot even move into any house now because all the houses are not habitable. And government will have to spend so much money in bringing it back. I think when we start working on the Ghana Housing Authority, we should be looking at putting some stringent measures in place to ensure that whether you're a government official, a government appointee, occupying a government bungalow, you have to put some money from your monthly salary, put it aside to ensure that when you are leaving that bungalow, and you've not spoiled anything, you've maintained the house, that money will be funded to you. If you've done any damage to the house, we use that money to renovate the house. It exists in developing countries. And it's about time that we put certain stringent measures in this area to ensure that people maintain and keep, the place that you find yourself in, you keep it well.
Thank you very much for sharing those words with us. Those were her last words. Madam Frida Prempeh is the Deputy Minister for Works and Housing, talking about the Rural Housing Scheme project and also giving us some updates on the affordable housing project. We'll leave it here, but we sure will get back onto this issue, and hopefully when the houses and projects are complete.